Hello from Becky and me. Welcome back after the bank holiday and welcome to this evening's programme.
Yes, first tonight, the worst Prime Minister ever. That's the damning verdict on Gordon Brown today, and it comes from one of his own candidates in our region.
The latest blow to the campaign was delivered by Manish, Sood, who's standing for Labour in northwest Norfolk. Mr Brown's record is so poor, he added, that he should even apologise to the Queen.
Well, in a few moments, our political correspondent Matthew Hudson will update us on the potential fallout. But first, Malcolm Robertson takes up the story.
Just 3 days before the election, and the Prime Minister was in Norfolk yesterday fighting for his political life. Unaware that 60 miles away on the other side of the county, the rug was being pulled from under his feet by one of his own Labour colleagues. On the front page of the Lynn News, Political Dynamite, a story that will have sent shockwaves through the Labour Party hierarchy. Their own candidate for West Norfolk describing Gordon Brown as the worst Prime Minister there has ever been. Today in his home city of Leicester, Manish Sood stood by his newspaper comments in which he described Mr Brown as a disgrace.
I'm very, very disappointed with Gordon Brown. He's the worst Prime Minister we have ever had in the history of this country. He hasn't been clear on any of his policies ever since he came into power. He wasn't elected in properly, and as a result he's going to put us towards a hung parliament, which is going to make things even worse. They have put corruption and bureaucracy before politics. They have put politics before people, and all I'm saying to Gordon Brown is he needs to learn some basic manners.
David Collis, chairman of the North West Norfolk constituency Labour Party, declined to be interviewed on camera today, but told me the local party was furious at his stupid and ridiculous comments. But senior Labour officials were prepared to speak out.
If you actually read the comments being put out at the moment by his local party, I'm afraid that says rather more about Mr Sood than anything else. Doesn't sound like he's been the most supportive candidate for the rest of his colleagues.
Today, Mr Sood's political opponents in West Norfolk seized on this unexpected bonus.
In a way, it's important that candidates do speak their mind, but I think that Manish is speaking for many, many Labour candidates who are, I think, very frustrated and very, very angry about how Labour's campaign has gone, and particularly the mistakes that Gordon Brown has made, for example, the Gillian Duffy incident, and also the way he's attacked other parties and being thoroughly negative.
When even Labour candidates are saying things like this, it's quite clear, really, we're in the fag end of what has become a quite unpopular government. And I would say that if people want real change and a fairer Britain, the only alternative really now is to vote for Liberal Democrats.
Mr Sood's website tells you very little about him, but he's a 38-year-old teacher who's a councillor in Leicester. Sophie Wiley broke the story in the Lynn News, a story that's had national repercussions.
Very surprised. It took a while for it to sink in, really. That's why I didn't initially question it, and then I called him back to confirm he'd said it, and he did, and elaborated on why he said what he said.
In normal circumstances, King's Lynn's a bit of a political backwater. Today, though, it might just be where the tide has well and truly turned against Gordon Brown and the Labour Party. Malcolm Robertson, Anglia News, West Norfolk.
Well, to discuss the potential fallout, our political correspondent Matthew Hudson joins us live now from Bedford, where Labour are trying to fend off a challenge from the Tories.
Matt, good evening. It looks certainly very calm behind you. Far from that in the Labour Party at the moment. It's just a majority of 3,000 at the moment. It's going to be the far from ideal situation for Gordon Brown this evening.
That's right, Jonathan. I mean, Labour are playing this down, but behind closed doors they'll be absolutely furious, particularly because things were looking just a little bit up for Gordon Brown. He had a good session on the GMTV sofa this morning. Yesterday I saw him in Ipswich and Yarmouth. He seemed very, very fired up, far more so than when I saw him a couple of weeks ago. And I think Labour was hoping to build on that in the home straight and see where it could take them. And now this comes along, and of course what they'll be concerned about really is that will voters be thinking there's a candidate who has said this? Are there other people within Labour who are thinking it?
And Matt, more headlines today. Labour are even asking supporters to vote Lib Dem in seats like North Norfolk.
Yes, that's right. Notably, Ed Balls and Peter Haines suggesting that Labour voters might vote Liberal Democrat if it will keep a Conservative out. Of course, a broad wink that Liberal Democrats might want to vote Labour in order to do the same thing, and that could have repercussions in seats like this one in Bedford. The danger with this strategy, of course, is that particularly this late in a campaign, it could be seen as being just a little bit desperate, and that was certainly the line being taken by former Chancellor of the Exchequer Ken Clarke, a genuine Conservative big beast, who I ran into in Northampton earlier today.
I don't want to alarm Ed any further, but if there is tactical voting in this election, it is disillusioned Labour voters who can't stand Gordon and Ed voting Liberal Democrat. It's not worried Conservatives voting Liberal Democrat this time.
And if you're one of the undecided voters, and all the parties say there's lots of them out there, it's very nearly make your mind up time, because tomorrow is the last full day of campaigning.
OK, thank you, Matty. The Football Association is investigating tonight after ugly scenes followed a match between Luton Town and York City.
Luton fans invaded the pitch at Kenilworth Road after their team lost the conference playoff semi-final, and the disruption then spilled into the surrounding streets. Emma Baker has more on this.
It started just moments after the final whistle. First an invasion of the pitch, then angry scenes of violence. As Luton fans threw coins and bottles, police with batons drawn were called in to control the situation. But when the crowds were dispersed, the riot spilled out onto the streets. These CCTV pictures outside one shop on nearby Dunstable Road show a group of Luton supporters looting the stock to use against the police. This morning, the shopkeeper surveyed the damage.
The rioters first began attacking the stock here, where they picked up flour trays and began throwing the pots at the police. They then moved round to the front of the shop, where they then started using the brooms as missiles towards others in the crowd.
We were lucky that the glass wasn't broken and nobody was hurt, really, and it was quite scary, basically, and I think a lot more could have been done from the police point of view.
But the police officer in charge defended the actions of his force.
Our priority was to ensure that the safety of the away fans and to make sure that they got away. And it may well have appeared that we weren't taking action as quickly as possible, but I can assure members of the community down in Berry Park we were doing everything we could.
At the height of yesterday's disturbances, the victorious York team had to make their exit through the stands to reach safety. Speaking after the match, Luton's managing director voiced his disappointment.
We don't like to see that at Kenilworth Road at all. I think a majority of the people that came on the pitch weren't intent on creating any trouble at all. Again, it's always the minority, and I'm sorry that to all York supporters that was the case.
Police arrested 7 people in connection with the riots. 6 have now been released on bail. As the FA launches an investigation into the trouble, Luton supporters will be reflecting on a disastrous end to the season. Emma Baker, Anglia News, Luton.